What is going on, guys? Jack here and welcome to another Football Manager 2016 video. Today we're going to be taking a look at my top 5 teams to manage in England in FM16. Now there's 2 teams which aren't going to be on this list, and that is because they've already been in one of my top 5 teams to manage videos. So if you want to check out that video or any more of the videos in my top 5 kind of playlist series, click on my face, this box. It'll take you to the playlist with all the top 5 videos. Anyway, the teams that I've picked are 5 teams. There's actually 1 in each league of the top 5 leagues in England. Hopefully you enjoy this. These are my personal top 5. If you enjoy this video, smash the like button. If there's teams that you think will make for good saves this year that I don't mention in this video, leave them down in the comments. And if you're new here, subscribe, and let's get into the countdown. So with this countdown, guys, rather than give you my top 5 in general, I decided to take a slightly different approach. I'm going to give you 1 team from each of the top 5 divisions in England which I think are worth managing. As I said, these are my opinion. Let me know what you make of them. And we're going to start off with the Vanarama Conference and end in the Premier League. So my Vanarama Conference team to consider managing this year is Tranmere Rovers. This team is a team that really has fallen from grace. After being established as a League One side, following a relegation from the Championship at the turn of the millennium, the season before last they were relegated to League Two. Last season they were relegated again, somewhat surprisingly, and now you find the task of trying to get them back into the English Football League. The club isn't in the best state, but they do have Brentford Park, which hosts 16,000, which for the 5th tier of England is ludicrous and ridiculously big, and gives you a big potential, I guess, to boost this team up and I guess take them back up the divisions. Tranmere are a club that have one very good player who I've used a lot in FM in Jake Kirby, a young 20-year-old midfielder to really build your team around. The team itself is a team that I think are well suited to a long-term lower league save in terms of trying to take them back up through the divisions, which I know a lot of people like to do. Their fairly healthy stadium definitely allows for that, and whilst they don't have the best facilities in the world, out of all the teams in the Vanarama Conference, they have a ton of potential. League 2 was perhaps the division where I struggled the most to pick out just 1 team to recommend, so I do want to give a few honourable mentions. The first team is to Bristol Rovers, who of course got re-promoted into the Football League last year. Really happy for them because I was kind of surprised when they got relegated from League 2 the season before last, so to see them bounce back immediately is good. They could be a fun challenge if you want a slightly less kind of prepared team to go up through the divisions in this league. Other teams worth a mention: Crawley, Carlisle, Notts County, and also Stevenage. I feel like all 4 of those teams are teams which I'm somewhat surprised to see in League 2 and all have the potential to go back up through the divisions following fairly recent relegations to this division. However, the team I've chosen is perhaps the most obvious one, and I have to apologise in advance for you guys who like really obscure choices, because I feel like the first 2 here, and I guess the next one isn't going to be too crazy either, are all fairly predictable. But my choice of teams this year is Portsmouth for League 2. Pompey, I don't really need to tell you guys a lot. You know the story. The Premier League team that kind of collapsed almost out of existence. They fell all the way to League 2. Well, in the space of about 6 years, which I don't think anyone predicted would ever happen. They are, however, back on the up. The club's finances are in a fairly stable position now, which is incredible, the work that Pompey has done as a football club to find themselves and, I guess, get a firmer footing financially. They have Fratton Park, which is a 20,000-seater stadium, which allows you to attract in a hell of a lot of fans and give you plenty of revenue streams. As I mentioned, they're fairly stable financially, and they now have Ender Stevens, who is a surprising player, I think, for them to pick up this year. Whether or not he'll be quite this good in FM16 remains to be seen, but I certainly think if you want that kind of rise to glory from a lower league in England, this is perhaps one of the easier and more obvious choices for you to do. So as I alluded to with my Portsmouth pick, my third pick and my pick for League 1 wasn't going to be too dissimilar. I have to be honest, I'm a bit of a sucker for teams who have dropped down through divisions, and I really like to restore former giants or teams which have fallen upon hard times in Football Manager. So my League 1 team of choice, if you can't read or you're blind, I don't know why you'd be watching this video if you're blind, but it's Wigan Athletic. The League 1 side are a team that have had 2 relegations in the last 3 years. Of course, not that long ago were appearing in an FA Cup final in Wembley, and with a fairly ageing squad and with some financial hardship as a result of some of the wages which they finally managed to just about get off their books, they're a team that are in desperate need of some TLC, and hopefully you're the guy who can bring that to them. As a League One side, they're predicted to do fairly well in the division, and I think a lot of people are surprised that they find themselves here. However, the challenge here is going to be to match those expectations with a fairly ageing squad and relying on a few older players such as Yuri Jääskeläinen and also Grant Holt. I'd be interested to see how many people end up doing this save, as I imagine it's going to be one that's fairly popular. So if this is a save that you're already considering doing, let me know. And also let me know if you're a Wigan fan, kind of what your expectations are this year. I'd be really interested to know them down in the comments. So for my championship team, we are going to get a little bit more interesting now. There's a few teams which I considered here. One team was MK Dons. I'm not exactly a fan of the club as a whole because of the whole situation and the reason in their being, but I think they have some good young English players in on loan. A little bit of an exciting challenge if you want to start out as a lower end championship team. You also have teams like Derby who have invested a lot of money recently, and also QPR who I think are a team that can be quite a fun challenge in a lot of ways, having dropped down to the championship and finally managed to shift a lot of big player wages off their wage bill. However, my team of choice is a little bit of a less obvious one compared to the last few, and it's Middlesbrough. Again, I think this team will be fairly popular this year in FM16, but I think for a championship team they provide with a fun challenge. Of course, last year Middlesbrough lost in the playoff final to Norwich and were incredibly close to promotion from the Championship to the Premier League. Your task really here is going to be to match the expectations of the fans, which inevitably is going to be promotion in FM16. However, you have got one new key man this summer to really help you on your way in Stuart Downing. Stuart Downing had a fantastic start to last season and a fantastic first half to the season with West Ham playing down the middle. Towards the end of the year he fizzled out, and over the summer he returned to his boyhood club Middlesbrough with a promise of getting them back into the Premier League. Borough, of course, a team that were in the Premier League not all that many years ago now, mean that you have that kind of, I guess, slight revival aspect that we've had with all the teams I've featured so far. But they're a team that with players like David Nugent joining their ranks are a team that are just a little bit too good in my opinion for the Championship, a long overdue a promotion. I definitely recommend these as an early team to try out in Football Manager this year, particularly if you're looking for kind of a 4 to 5 year save, as getting Middlesbrough into the Premier League and establishing them could be a very fun challenge ahead. And that is why they get the kind of championship spot. So for the Premier League, I of course featured Bournemouth in my top 5 teams to manage. I didn't want to feature them again, so I picked a club that's very different to Bournemouth. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link down in the description so you can go and watch it. It also features some clubs which I've not mentioned today outside of England, and if you've enjoyed this video, I'm certain you'll enjoy that one too. So my Premier League team of choice for teams that you should manage and the team that you should certainly consider managing is Tottenham Hotspur. Now, this may come as a surprise to people because I am doing a Liverpool save as my beta save when the game launches later on this month / next month, depending on when the beta starts. But the reason I decided to pick Spurs over Liverpool is because I think they're both very similar teams, but I think Spurs are perhaps going to be the less popular of the two. Spurs last year were very unlucky. They finished 5th in the league, 6 points behind Manchester United, and your challenge really is going to be to establish them as a top 4 side and seek regular Champions League football. The team itself is an exciting one though, and out of all the teams in England, I actually think it has some of the best potential of a team that isn't exactly one of the biggest in the league from the off. Looking at their players, they've got players like Bentaleb, Dyer, NG, Nidji, Clint. He likes to be called Clint. We'll call him Clint because I'm not going to be able to say his last name. And Harry Kane. They also have young players like Dele Alli as well, who joined the club, I think, a year or 2 ago, but had a loan spell back at MK Dons last year. He started this season off to a flyer. As well as these players, you've got Lamela and Eriksson, 2 22-year-old midfielders, very exciting players to perhaps build a team around. And with the addition of Son Heung-min this summer, you have a trio of fantastic young, exciting midfielders to really build a team around. You also have Hugo Lloris between the sticks, who's a fantastic goalkeeper, and as you are playing as Spurs, you're going to have a fair amount of money to really build a team around. Spurs have a ton of potential in Football Manager this year because of their fairly young midfield and a ton of creative attacking players at your disposal. And as a result, I think they'll be a fun team this year in FM if you don't want to start off as a struggling team in the Premier League, nor start off as a team which pretty much guarantees you the title within the first few seasons. Anyway guys, that wraps up today's video on my top 5 English teams to manage in FM16. If your opinions differed, let me know which teams you're going to be managing in the comments. I know a lot of you guys manage English teams. I want to see the variety that we've got going on. Maybe it's going to be your local team. Let me know who you're managing and why. If you've enjoyed this video, smash the like button. If you're new to my channel, thank you for watching them to the end. If you want to see more Football Manager videos, subscribe. And other than that guys, it is me Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.